Hi and welcome to Nick Well Motorhomes. Now, we're getting to the time of the season where a lot of people are going to be thinking about draining their vans down for the end of the year, and then of course you've got to think about priming them come the spring. So we thought we'd try to put a few how-to videos together, especially for first-time people, to explain how some of these systems work. Now, one of the most important ones, of course, anybody who's had a motorhome for some time will know, is draining your van down for the winter months. Now, different vans will work in slightly different ways, but the process is basically the same. So the first thing we need to do is drain down our wastewater tank. Now, some will have a switch, some will have a tap. This particular one has a handle. So you would pull that out and that will release your wastewater. Whether you want to then close it or leave it open is entirely up to you. Personally, I'd leave it open. It can't do any harm, but if you do want to close it up, that's fair enough. The next thing that we then need to do is drain down our fresh water tank. Now, again, some will be underslung. They may have taps, they may have switches. This particular one, the fresh water tank, sits underneath this seat just here. Now, again, that's great for when you're using it, because obviously if you've got your heating on, it's insulated more. Now, when we open up there, you'll see you've got a bung at the bottom of the tank. So you literally just pop your hand in, you pull the bung out like so, and then you can see that obviously that just drains straight down. Now, once we've drained them down, the next thing we need to look at is our boiler. Now, more often than not, if we get phone calls over the winter months with people phoning up, it will be, I've got a water leak on my van. It's not usually the case. What happens is, and you'll see it on this particular boiler, there's usually two types. You've got the yellow switch, which a lot of the UK vans will have, and you've got the blue switch, which is very much the continental way. With the continental boiler, what will happen is if your van gets down to 2 degrees or below, it will automatically dump the water that's in your system. Now, that's why people will remember to drain down the fresh, they'll remember to drain down the waste, and then we'll get a phone call in December saying, I've got a water leak. More often than not, it will actually be because this has got down to 2 degrees and it's opened itself. Now, as you can see at the moment, that little blue switch is in. That means our boiler is sealed. Now, that's great because if you're filling it up, that's what you want. But when we're draining it, we want that to turn. So you just turn it a quarter of a turn, little blue button pops out. That will now automatically dump any water that's in our boiler. Yes, it will do it automatically if the van gets down to 2 degrees or below, but everything with a motorhome I personally find is repetition. And the more you do a certain job, the more likely you are to remember how to do that job. So again, I usually will drain down my system every time that I come back from a tour, because at least that way I know it's done and I don't forget. But it's what works for everybody. So we've opened up our fresh, we've opened up our waste, and we've opened up our boiler. The next thing you need to do is come back inside the van. Now, what you really want to do then is open up all your taps. Once your taps are all opened up, we then come round to our control panel. Now, I would usually say, do not put your water pump on if you've got no water in your system, because you don't want to be putting extra pressure on your pump if you're not using it. But when you're doing your drain down, just for 5-6 seconds, you pop that on, let the water, what's still left in the pipes, trickle out, and it will start to cough and it will splutter and it will get rid of all the little bits. But what you don't want to do is leave water in the pipes, because obviously if it freezes, that'll expand, it can end up cracking your pipes and it can cause you damage come the spring when you want to get everything back up and running again. Once you've done that, you've now drained your system down for the winter. So the next job is going to be, of course, is we want to prime our system. Well, we're doing everything in reverse. So we're going to go back underneath here. And we're going to put our bung, if we haven't already, make sure that's put back in. And then we pop that on there. The next thing, of course, that you would do will be to come back outside. And we're going to pop that back in. So we make sure that that's pushed in now. So again, water's not going to come out the waste tank. Then we go round to the other side, because at this point, what we want to do is fill up our tank. So you get the old hose out, you pop it in, and you fill up your system. Now, you can't overfill your system, because if you put too much water in there, it's just going to pour out on your shoes. So it's not an issue. The next thing that we then need to do is go back round to our boiler. Now, as we were saying, if the little blue button is out, it means your boiler's open. Now, we want to seal that. So We just come in here and we turn that a quarter turn and we pop that button in. Now it's sealed and it's ready to prime your system. So we filled up our water tank. We know no water is going to come out of our boiler. So the next thing that we then do is we come back in and we open up all our taps again. And then we put on our water pump. Now what's going to happen is obviously we're now priming the system and there's going to be air in the system, so it's going to start coughing and it's going to start spluttering. Once the water starts pouring out of all your taps nice and smoothly, you've primed your system. You can then knock off your taps and the job's done and it's all primed up ready. You want to do it this way because you don't want to leave air in your system. So some people might just turn on one tap. Well, the problem with that is if you've got an airlock somewhere else, it's just still going to block up and it's not going to come through correctly. And that is how we prime our system for the spring. Hope this has been really useful for you, and keep an eye and we'll try and do a few more videos for you. Thanks very much.